Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies. And today on our Thrive Challenge, we're going to be talking about VUCA. Why does this matter? Because as change happens to you and your organization, you're going to need a framework to be able to approach what's happening and unfolding for you. So the first thing we need to look at is and just decide and commit to handling is there is going to be volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And the real gist of the conversation today is driving awareness of the fact that a VUCA framework exists and understanding how you can harness it to make sure that your strategy and your operationalization plans are taking these things into consideration. So if we look at it from a volatility standpoint, what does that mean? That just means change happens, right? We look at the fact that there are economic market forces. We look at the fact that there are changing political winds. We look at the fact that there may be a legal or regulatory change. We look at the fact that maybe something very close to us, the customer may no longer want our client or service, or a customer or a new client wants a lot of our products and services, right? Both of them, we have to either scale very quickly or we have to be able to find new clients and customers to take on what we were delivering to someone else, right? So how can we approach that? We can approach this through the way that we were dealing with our strategic planning to begin with, right? So if we look at strategy as a clarity enabler, or strategy for deepening alignment, and strategy as a way to help you choose and prioritize the right initiatives to maximize your organization's performance, we can now understand how strategy and planning may help you lessen the amount of volatility that your organization is experiencing, because you're not reacting, you will be proactive. And the way we do that is we look at the sources, right? In each of these areas that we're going to talk about, volatility is likely going for your organization, your type of organization, and the industry that you serve, or the clients that you serve, for the size of organizations that you serve, and for the size of organization you are, you're going to have certain issues, challenges, sources of volatility that it's probably cyclical in nature. And the way that we can look at that is through a SWOT analysis as well as a pestle analysis, right? If we become better at normalizing our approach and at least considering these areas of what we would consider a risk, we get better at proactively remediating any issues that our organizations may have, right? So volatility, what are the sources? What is it within your organizational control? Can you control something? Yes or no? If you can't control it, can you minimize the risk within your own organization so that you don't have to take a hit? Or how can you layer, we talk about it from a cyber perspective, defense in depth. We talk about it from an organizational perspective, preventative performance success. How many different layers can we put in place to positively succeed so that if the one goes haywire, the rest do not become affected, right? So that's just basic, in technology terms, we'd call it high availability. In business terms, we'd be looking at business continuity, etc. So now uncertainty is very similar, right? We want to look at what are the sources of our organizational uncertainty? What are the sources within our broader ecosystem uncertainty? And to what extent you can do risk mitigation. Again, it's just an exercise. Where is it political factors? Is it economic factors? Is it legal factors? Is it again, you're partnering with your customer base, with your internal workforce? Where are the pain points and the challenges and the uncertainty? What might you could you, knowing what you know today, knowing what's happening out in the ecosystem, at least ascertain if you feel it has a potential to positively or negatively affect your organization? And if it has the opportunity to positively affect, how can you use that as a lever? If it has the opportunity to negatively affect, how could you do risk remediation or lessening? The next is complexity, right? We're seeing this with the technological complexity. We're seeing this with the complexity that's occurring because of the political landscape. We're looking at this because of the economic landscape that we're under, et cetera. So we use the same tactic and the tools. We want to, especially in this area, we want to use tools that allow us to capture those areas of our organizations that have a heightened complexity that we don't necessarily have a great handle on. And then we can quantitatively examine that from a business continuity, business operations standpoint, much like we can ingest, if you will, the features and functionality of a technology, examine for greatest complexity, break them out into their composite parts, prioritize the risks, and work on the risk remediation building block at the least common component that we can conceptualize and strategize against. We're doing the exact same thing that we do from a technological or a process standpoint, but we're applying it to the business portion of the organization that complexity impacts the most. So we can think about it as an impact analysis, or we can approach it much like we do a piece of technology and simply ingest that business operation set, do some complexity functional analysis so that we can break it out into relative composite parts, focus on remediating risk at the points that we can control the most, and then rolling that back up to see how well we did against for being able to understand, being able to operationalize, and being able to move through that, and maybe even harnessing some of that in an opportunity, a strategic opportunity perspective, now that we better understand that, what that is. This may be come into play where some of our parallel thinking, where some of our parallel research, if we look at the object or the focus of the complexity for our organization, our industry, we can then look at other industries and other like organizations and ascertain what are they doing, who's moving it forward in an area, who's solved for higher performance, higher revenue, higher rates of return, higher impact in the areas where we feel we have the highest complexity. So what can we learn from our external entities and then apply internally so that it reduces our time to solve, our time to operationalize, our time to get a performance gain potentially out of that. And then next and last is ambiguity. Again, ambiguity occurs because of the volatility, uncertainty, and complexity in areas, but oftentimes it occurs because we don't have the proper constructs, methods, frameworks in place to do our strategic planning and operationalizing correctly. So what we've been learning is in these Thrive challenges are mechanisms and frameworks and approaches and tools to help you thrive through periods of what others would consider uncertainty, others would consider to be high amounts of volatility. Because you've done the homework up front, you're looking for leading and lagging indicators, you are harnessing your tools and innovation strategies in order to capitalize on nascent technology, nascent rollouts of process, new entrants, changes in the global structure, et cetera, right? So the more you can grasp and harden and bolster what you do know, the more you can move into what you know you don't know and make wise decisions on prioritizing discovery and research into those things that have the most relevancy. And then through that parallel thinking, through that parallel research, through the perhaps partnering across industries, across geo regions, across sizes, then that helps you gain, again, another lever that you can use to be able to move forward proactively versus reactively. All of these exist all of the time in our world. It's more how we as business leaders and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs put in place, again, a business continuity defense in depth to make sure that we can weather a particular storm should it happen. But ideally, we have proactively prevented it from having a negative effect through the research, through the planning, through the taking of the defense in depth from a business continuity standpoint, so that we do not experience any negative repercussions that we could, to the extent we could, if we're proactively taking this on. So I invite you to read more about the VUCA approach. It really helps to, it really goes well with innovation strategies and innovation frameworks and innovation methodologies to move you out of your box. You as a leader, maybe you as a team, you as an organization, it makes you think differently. And the innovation tools, when paired with this new understanding of how we could leverage it for optimizing our outcomes, I think will help you realize that there are many additional tools in the toolkit that you can leverage from a proactive standpoint. So again, I invite you to learn more about the VUCA approach, what you can take from it to bolster your fourth quarter in 2023, how you can harness the intent and some of the recommended co-joint tools going forward to, again, heighten your performance in 2024 and 2025. And most of all, get your leadership executives and maybe your partners and your customers on board with examining things through this lens, because it informs, it incites to action, and it enables you to have heightened impact, thereby creating greater and greater and greater performance success for you and your firm. Again, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies, the success strategist, bringing you another Thrive Challenge today focused on VUCA. We invite you back in November, where we'll be discussing additional Thrive tools and techniques to take you from 0 to 100 and reach the success, whatever that's deemed to be for you. Signing off for today, and we'll see you in November.